Hello, hi. This particular video is based on the topic from international economics. It is reciprocal demand theory. This particular video is going to help the student who are doing their Master of Arts in Economics and also the one who write for various competitive exams related to the economics. So welcome to the video. Now coming back to the topic, the Ricardian principle of comparative cost advantage was analyzed in terms of comparative labor cost. Ricardo has rightly explained that the international trade brings gain to the trading countries. However, he could not determine precisely in quantitative terms. Like he did not explain the ratio in which the commodities are exchanged and also the proportion in which the gain from trade are shared between the trading country. The Ricardo failed to determine the exact rate of international exchange is because of the fact that he has put excessive emphasis upon the supply aspect and has completely neglected the demand side aspect of the reality. So it was J.S. Mill has removed this important issue in Ricardian comparative cost theory, and hence he has put forward his reciprocal demand theory, in which he has tried to restate comparative cost differences in terms of comparative advantage rather than the comparative labor cost. So he has developed the principle of reciprocal demand in his famous work of the Principle of Political Economy, which is a book published in 1848. This theory deals with the issue of determination of international rate of exchange and also the distribution of gain from trade among the trading countries. Later the technique of offer curve was extensively used in international economics to explain the reciprocal demand and the terms of trade. Now let us try to understand the meaning of reciprocal demand. According to J.S. Mill, the actual ratio at which commodities are exchanged between two countries depends mainly upon the strength and elasticity of each country's demand for the product of the other, or the reciprocal demand. So by reciprocal demand, Mill meant the quantities of export that a country would offer at different terms of trade in return of varying quantities of import. So in other words, we can say that reciprocal demand refers to the intensity of demand for the product of one country in the other country. Having said that, before going into the detail of the Mill's restatement of the comparative cost theory and subsequent graphical illustration of the same, let's have a look on the theoretical structure of the J.S. Mill theory of reciprocal demand. Now, theoretical structure implies the various underlying assumptions of the reciprocal demand theory. The assumptions are following, it is assumed that it is a 2 into 2 model, implies international trade takes place between two countries which are A and B, and trade is between two commodities, that is X and Y. That is what we mean the 2 into 2 model. And as a other assumption is the production is governed by the constant return to scale. Means that the production condition in both trading country involves the constant return to scale. Yet other assumption says that the international trade between two countries is governed by the principle of comparative cost. And it is also assumed that pattern of demand is similar in two trading countries, and it is perfectly competitive market condition prevails in trading countries is also assumed, and no restrictions on trade and government follow a policy of laissez-faire is also assumed, and full employment of resources in both countries and absence of transportation costs are all the assumptions of the theory. And it is also assumed that the export of each country are sufficient to pay for its imports. So with this theoretical structure at our hand, we can construct the Mill's theory of reciprocal demand theory, or let us see how the Mill has restated the comparative cost theory. As I said earlier, the comparative cost doctrine has restated by J.S. Mill in terms of comparative advantage, while Ricardo had dealt with it in terms of comparative labor cost. So Mill has pointed out that the differences in the productivity of labor in different country, or pointing out that the same amount of labor can yield the different output in different countries. So it implies that effectiveness of labor in one country may be more or less than in another country. So to show that, we have with us a table that shows that country A has an absolute advantage in producing both the goods in original Smithian sense of the term, because it is capable of producing both the commodities at a relatively lesser labor cost than country B. However, in Ricardian sense of the term, we can say that country A has a greater comparative advantage in producing X than in Y, because it is evident from the table the fact that the ratio of A1 to A2 is greater than the ratio of A3 to A4, or you can say in another word like the ratio of 80 units of product X in country A is to 50 units of X in country B is greater than the ratio of 50 units of product Y in country A to 40 units of product Y in country B. Similarly, you can also say with reference to country B, it has the comparative advantage in producing Y, because the ratio says that ratio of A4 to A3 is greater than A2 to A1, or put it other way, like the ratio of 40 units of product Y in country B to 50 units of Y in country A is greater than the ratio of 50 units of product X in country B to 80 units of product X in country A. So what all these ratios means? These ratios signify that country A will specialize in the production and export of commodity X, whereas country B will specialize in commodity Y. Thus, the trade between them will be guided by the exchange ratios as established by the relative effectiveness of labor in two countries. The domestic exchange ratio, of two commodities in respective countries will set the limit within which the actual exchange ratio will get settled. So the domestic exchange ratio can be seen like this. For country A, it is 1 unit of X is exchanged for 0.63 unit of Y, and for country B, 1 unit of X is exchanged for 0.8 unit of Y. Now, if the actual international exchange ratio is 1 unit of X is equal to 0.63 unit of Y, then there is no gain from trade for country A, and the whole gain will accrue to country B. In the opposite situation of international exchange ratio, having been settled as 1 unit of X is equal to 0.8 unit of Y, then there is no gain from trade for country B also. The whole gain going over to country A. So in both these situations, no trade will become possible. So therefore, it is obvious that the actual exchange ratio will have to be settled within the limit set by the domestic exchange ratios. The fundamental determinant of this actual exchange ratio is the intensity of reciprocal demand. That is, the intensity of each country's demand for the product of the other country. It is measured through the elasticity of demand in each country for the import for the other. Now suppose that if the demand for X commodity is less elastic in country B, but demand for Y commodity in country A is more elastic, the country B will be willing to give more unit of Y for importing a given number of unit of X, and the international rate of exchange will be closer to the domestic exchange ratio of country B. It means the exchange ratio or the terms of trade are more favorable to country A, and the country will obtain a larger share out of the total gain from trade. On the opposite, if the demand for Y commodity is inelastic in country A and the demand for X commodity is more elastic in country B, the country B will be willing to give up an additional unit of Y in exchange of more unit of X commodity. So in this case, the international exchange ratio will get settled closer to the domestic exchange ratio of country A. So the terms of trade are now more favorable to country B, and it will secure a larger proportion of gain from trade. So with the help of reciprocal demand theory, J. S. Mill could explain how the gain from trade is distributed between trading country, and also how the actual rate of exchange of commodity between is settled within the framework of reciprocal demand. So with this theoretical insight, let us see how graphically we can determine the actual rate of exchange on the strength of reciprocal demand. Now here we have the box diagram, which is two-dimensional figure which shows the export and import situation of two countries A and B. Here A1 represents the production possibility curve of country A. We know that what is the production possibility curve. It shows the different combination of X and Y commodities that a country A can produce under constant cost conditions that we have assuming in this theory, and with the fullest utilization of available resources like labor input. Similarly, B1 represent the production possibility curve of country B with origin O1. Suppose country A specializes in commodity X and country B specializes in commodity Y. Now, if there is a complete specialization, the production point is at A1, which is equal to B, where country A devotes all its productive resources on producing X and country B on producing Y. A1 and B1 is the production possibility curve, represent also the domestic ratio of exchange. So the trade will take place within these two limits. So A1 B1 shows the potential trading area. The actual exchange ratio will lie somewhere in this potential trading area. Now let us suppose that if country A require OD quantity of X and CD quantity of Y, it can meet the demand through domestic production in absence of foreign trade. Suppose it requires more quantity of Y than CD. So the additional demand for Y can be met by importing it from country B. So now A will offer to give up more quantity of X in order to get an additional unit of Y. So A1 CR represent the offer curve of country A. See, A1 part of this curve is imaginary because all these combinations of X and Y commodity can be obtained through domestic production and without external trade. Similarly, BC1R is the offer curve of country B, and BC1 part of this curve is imaginary. So as we move along CR part of the offer curve of country A, the terms of trade become more favorable to country A. In the same way, the movement along C1R makes the terms of trade more favorable to B. Thus, the two offer curve intersect each other at point R, where it establishes the free trade equilibrium. So, at this equilibrium position, export of each country are just sufficient to pay for its imports. So any change in reciprocal demand will cause a variation in this actual exchange ratio. The more inelastic the offer curve of the country, the more favorable will be the terms of trade for that country and vice versa. So the line joining R and A1 or B denotes the actual exchange ratio of the two commodities for the two countries. So in summary, what we have done here is that we have tried to understand the restatement of Ricardian comparative cost theory by J.S. Mill with his principle of reciprocal demand. In this theory, he has attempted to restate the Ricardian principle of comparative cost to determine the actual international ratio of exchange of commodities between trading countries and also tried to determine the distribution of gains from trade for the trading country. I hope that you have understood the concept. Thank you for watching. Okay.